So this digital dish is actually going to be helping Audrey and I tone down our inboxes because we get a lot of questions about how do I start a blog? I want some advice. Can you give us some advice? So we thought we'd put a little thing together for the people who are just getting started. You're sitting down, you're looking at the computer, and you don't know where to begin. So we're going to give you 3 tips each on how to get started with really the beginner basics of blogging. And it all starts with a name, right? So before you start anything, you really have to sit down and think, what is it? Who are you going to be known as in the blogging world? When you're choosing your name, you obviously need a .com. Well, if you find a URL that you fall in love with and you check it and it's taken, it's taken. And move on and pick a whole new name. Don't try to take some variation of that URL and make it your own, because you can fall upon trademark infringements, and you don't want to get into all of that. I have an LLC, and if somebody tries to get my name too close to my name, then lawyers become involved and it's a whole to-do. So don't do that. Just pick another name. There's a million names that you can think of. Secondly, unfortunately, I have a website called I'mNotObsessed.com, and I thought it was so fun, and I was like, yeah, I'm not obsessed, that's witty, that's funny, I'm obsessed, it's like celebrity gossip. Well, big problem, there's an apostrophe in that, I'm not obsessed, I''M, and when I tell people that URL, everyone's like, is it I-A-M, is it I-M? So it's a big problem that I didn't think about when I made that website. So be sure that you're picking something that is clean, and that if you say it out loud, if you're in an elevator and you're sort of shouting it, there's no questions asked, people will be able to spell that out, and it's just something easy to remember. And my last tip, and Audrey has 3 too, but my last tip to do, something that I do personally, is if you're doing something with the family, for example, stay with a theme. So I'm Lady on the blog, and my husband is Dad in the blog, and my daughter is Girl in the blog, and we like to sort of keep it in the same vein because it makes sense. It's this brand that we've built together, and it all makes sense. It links to one another, and it's like sort of like the story that's being told online. So if you have a food blog and you want to create a travel blog as well, consider creating a secondary URL that has some sort of relation with your first URL. So another great example of that would be Pop Sugar. So Pop Sugar is another celebrity gossip website. They have Fit Sugar and Fab Sugar and all these sugars. But what she did is she just kept that sugar, and then that's the link throughout all the sites. So I thought that was really great. And if you are thinking of having multiple sites that have different topics, consider that tip as well, just in case when you want to branch out, because all bloggers eventually branch out. Okay, now here comes Audrey's tips.
Okay, so my 3 tips, so when you are naming your blog, the first one, try not to have anything, well not try, don't have anything derogatory in the name of your blog. It's okay to be cute, it's okay to be, silly, but you don't want to have a name in your blog, especially if your blog is something that you're going to be using for business or turn into what you would hope make some money on. A lot of brands, they're very family friendly, and they can be turned off if they happen to see a blog that's named something maybe a little inappropriate, or maybe sounds just a bit like negative. So try to stay away from names for your blog if they tend to kind of like gravitate towards that, I'm not sure, what do you think? And always utilize your friends. If you're not sure, ask other bloggers, ask maybe other businesses, just don't be afraid to ask around too, to get people's feedback for the name of your blog. The second is make sure that you link your blog name into the different social media channels as well. So, I'm momgenerations.com, that's the name of my blog, but I also make sure that I have my Mom Generations Facebook page, I have a Twitter, it's my YouTube channel as well. And another thing too, it's also important as well, is that make sure, like, I also brand myself as Audrey McClelland, so I also have that name in the social media channels too. So always think too, like, your blog is a destination, but we live in a digital world, so obviously these different channels, Twitter and Facebook and Pinterest and Instagram and YouTube, they're all going to work too with your blog. So just make sure you keep that in mind. Okay, and my third tip, make sure that when you're picking your blog name, you keep in mind that you do outgrow certain names. Like for instance, my original blog with my mom and my sister was called Pinks and Blues. And at that point, I literally had 2 boys. They were babies. And I thought, okay, so Pinks and Blues is so cute because you either have like a blue or a pink because it's boys and girls. And I stopped to like actually think about it. Like at some point, these kids are not going to be babies anymore. So I was a mom and I blogged with my mom and my sister. So we regrouped and we're like, you know what, mom generations, like that makes sense. You know, we have these different generations and you know, we're in the mom blogging world. So that was why we chose mom generation. So just keep in mind, if you eventually will outgrow a name and you think that might happen, don't pick that name. Really find a name that could go, you know, a long time. It could go long term. So it's just something to keep in mind because we've seen it happen with some of our friends, and it becomes difficult. And you don't want to rebrand after you've been in something for 3 or 4 years. So make sure you keep that in mind as well. So we hope you enjoy these 6 tips through how to name your blog, because Vera is correct. It all begins with a simple blog name.